Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great, and for this new video I'm gonna share with you a list about all of the potential ideas I have for the Power Rangers. For all the people who follow me since my beginnings on YouTube, well, you already know that Power Rangers is my most basic passion, but despite this, it's just totally obvious that it doesn't mean it's perfect, like I already told you in my short where I warned you about the story I'll tell you someday that I called the Power Rangers Legacy series, and that I've invented since the franchise is part of my life since 2016. That's why I've imagined a lot of potential ideas I wish I see in the series that would have made it better than it already is. But before I start to list them to you, as always, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to never miss my next videos, to like and share my video if you like it, and to comment down below. So, I'd first like to warn you, if you hope I'll reveal you the potential Power Rangers seasons I've imagined for this video, well, you're gonna be disappointed because I'm keeping this for another video especially for it. And of course, I'm gonna list you all these potential ideas in the series season's chronological order. So, logically, that means we're obviously gonna start with the beginning of the 7 era, and so with the Zordon era, which are the 6 first seasons of the series. And so with the 3 first seasons of the series, Mighty Morphin. So, first of all, if there's something I find very problematic, is that these 3 first seasons are imperfect adaptations of their Super Sentai seasons counterpart. Yes, Mighty Morphin Season 1 is a good adaptation of Kyoryu Sentai Zeo Ranger, but we can't say the same for Mighty Morphin Season 2 with Gosei Sentai Dia Ranger, and also for Mighty Morphin Season 3 with Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger. And yes, I saw I was far from being the only one among the PR fans to have these problems. And I'm gonna tell you what is it. First, let's take a look about Mighty Morphin Season 1. As we can see in the American adaptation, in addition of creating good American versions of the Zeo Ranger stories, they also use the same costumes than in this original Japanese season, and we can also say the same for the Zords, Megazords, and Ultra Zord. That's why I say it's a perfect American / Power Rangers adaptation / version. But then the 2 next Mighty Morphin seasons don't do as well as the predecessor. Because first, in Mighty Morphin Season 2, they kept the costumes of the Zeo Rangers Basic Rangers, and all they used of Dia Ranger were the Special Rangers costume, the Zords, Megazords, and Ultra Zord. And yes, that means I would have liked to see the Dia Rangers Basic Rangers costumes instead of the Zeo Rangers ones. And like if this wasn't already bad enough like this, we did worse in Mighty Morphin Season 3. Yes, because this time they kept the Zeo Rangers Basic Rangers and Dia Rangers Special Ranger costumes. And all they used of Kaku Ranger were the Special Ranger, the Zords, and Megazords. They only used the Kaku Rangers Basic Rangers costumes in Alien Rangers, which is just a 10 episodes miniseries that serves as an ending to Mighty Morphin Season 3. So yes, that also means I would have liked to see the Kaku Rangers Basic Rangers costumes since the beginning of the season instead of the Zeo Rangers Basic Rangers and Dia Rangers Special Ranger ones. Okay, so that was my first problem with Mighty Morphin, but honestly, there are 2 more. My second problem with these 3 first seasons is about the Power Blaster in Mighty Morphin Season 1. So, first of all, I love this weapon. I even love this type of weapon and also that weapon's concept in PR franchise. That's why I think it's a shame we didn't do the following thing. That's to say, adding the Dragon Dagger to the Power Blaster. Yes, above the Power Sword of course, obviously. When Tommy joins the team to add more power and so more firepower to the Power Blaster. And yes, I also have the same problem with other of these cannons in the franchise. You'll see which ones later. And speaking of Tommy Oliver, we arrive at my third problem not only with Mighty Morphin but with all of the Power Rangers franchise. That's to say that I think he's very overrated and so that he doesn't deserve to be the icon of the franchise. Yeah, sorry to tell you that, but as all of Power Rangers fans know, the red is the main color of the series. And like Jason is the very first Red Ranger of the series, yes, that means he should have been the Power Rangers icon with his Mighty Morphin Red Ranger costume instead of Tommy. I'm even going further, he should have been in couple with Kimberly instead of Tommy. Because yes, Red and Pink Rangers couples are the most classic and iconic type of couples in the franchise, and like Mighty Morphin are the 3 very first seasons, well, that would have been a better idea to introduce us that most classic and iconic couple concept in the franchise. By the way, I also would have loved to see Billy getting in couple with Trini, and the same for Rocky and Aisha. Yes, in this video, I'm also gonna tell you all the potential couples I would have liked to see in the series. Alright, so those were all the potential ideas I had for Power Rangers Mighty Morphin, and now let's pass through those I had for the next season, and so the 4th one obviously, Zeo. So, first of all, I'd first like to say that it's from this season that the series takes a big step forward. Because, like I just explained to you, the 3 Mighty Morphin seasons were imperfect adaptations of their Super Sentai season counterparts, except the first one once again. But from this 4th season onwards, the series begins to adapt the original Japanese series, Super Sentai, well, yes, this time by always respecting the costumes, Zords, etc. And also by always changing the atmosphere, the production, etc. with each new season. Alright, so that was the parenthesis, and now let's pass to the things I would have liked to see in the season. So first, here's the second and following example of the problem I have with some of the weapons combinations cannons in the franchise I already talked to you about. That's to say, this time, the Zeo Blaster and the Zeo Power Cannon. Yes, for the Zeo Blaster I would have liked to see the Golden Power Staff added to it for more power and so more firepower. And I also would have liked to see pretty much the same thing for the Zeo Power Cannon. Yes, I would have loved that we add one more place for one more Gold Zeo Power Cell. And yes, I know that means that for this we would have had to increase the length of the cannon. And to finish with Zeo, I'd like to tell you something. I already told you I don't like the Tommy and Kimberly couple, and with this I can definitely tell you that I definitely prefer when Tommy gets in couple with Kat. But despite this, it's still heartbreaking when I see the scene when Tommy reads Kimberly's letter when she tells him that she breaks up with him. And speaking of that, I also would have liked to see Adam and Tanya getting in couple officially. Well, honestly, I think they had a pretty close relation and that it meant the season wanted to show us they were in love, but I'm not sure. Power Rangers Turbo. So, to tell you the truth, this is the worst PR season ever with Ninja Steel and Super Ninja Steel for me. And yes, I know I'm far from being the only PR fan to hate this season so much and so to consider it like one of the worst PR Power Rangers seasons ever. But do you know what's the worst in it? Is that it really could have been better than that. And I'm gonna explain you how. Like I told you in my previous video, I have with this Power Rangers season the same problem that with Pixar's Cars franchise. And what I mean by that is that I wonder why we only represent the cars in particular and not the other vehicles in general as well. Yes, look, for example, the Power of Justin, the Blue Ranger, could have been the boat, like this vehicle is related with the water and that some Blue Rangers have that element as a power, or something related to that element. Power Rangers in Space. It's the best season of the Zordon's era for me, like it's the conclusion and also the most epic season of this era. And here are the things I would have liked to see in it, so it's better than it already is. That's to say, seeing Zane and Karon getting officially in couple after the latter becomes herself/normal after the final battle. Yes, because I really like the love story they both had in the season. So, with this, I would have liked to see them both getting in couple officially at the end of the season. And speaking of all that, two things. One, I'd like to learn you that Andros and Ashley's couple is my second favorite couple in the franchise. And yes, Andros is very lucky because he's in couple with the most beautiful of all of the Yellow Rangers ever for me. And two, well, about Cassie, I really hesitate to say if she should have got in couple with TJ or Carlos. Can you tell me which one do you think would have been the best choice in comments, please? Alright, we finished with the Zordon era, and now we arrive/enter not only in the rest of the Saban era, but also at the beginning of the post-Zordon era of the franchise. And so also in the moment where the series do exactly as Super Sentai. That's to say, always making everything totally different at each season. And so making sure that the seasons don't have continuity and connections with the previous and following seasons. And logically, that means we're gonna continue with Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. So, the first thing I would have liked to see in this season is about the In Space/Lost Galaxy team-up. Yes, this Power Rangers team-up is one of my favorites in the entire franchise, but unfortunately, this didn't avoid that there was one defect in it. That's to say the fact that Zane, the Silver Space Ranger, wasn't there. Yes, that frustrates me so much because, first, he's a Ranger and a member of his team, so there wasn't any reason that he doesn't appear. Yes, thank you, I know it's because Justin Nimmo wasn't available. I wasn't talking about the actor, but of his character. And secondly, because I obviously really would have liked to see him team up with Mike. And the second thing I also would have liked to see in this season are couples. Yes, for example, I would have loved to see Leo and Catrice getting a couple officially. So, before anyone tells me, yes, I remember how they first met at the beginning of the season, and that it certainly meant that there was love at first sight between them, but I would have liked to see more in the rest of the season. To see them getting in couple officially. And yes, that would have made the Kendricks' sacrifice more interesting with this. By the way, speaking of the team-ups, in this one we see a battle with the Megazords of the two seasons, and honestly, it should have and should be like that at every PR team-ups. Because yes, it hasn't always been like this, and it's a defect. And yes, I would have liked to see it not just with the classic Megazords of the seasons, but with all of them. And the other couple I wish there was in the season is Maya getting in couple with either Mike or Damon. Yes, I also have an hesitation there. So, can you also tell me in comments which one would have been the best option, please? Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. So, for this season, we're gonna start with the couples I would have liked to see in it. For example, I really would have liked to see Carter and Jana getting a couple like they really would have looked good together physically. And for Kelsey, well, if I remember correctly, she had a relationship with Chad after he's no longer with Marina, but I also hesitate to say if she should have got in couple with him or Ryan. So, as I'm asking you the same thing, please. That's to say, to tell me which choice would have been the best for you, please. And to be honest, like the most beautiful female character in this season for me is Vipra. Well, with this, I really wish she turns good and so into a human at the end of the season. Yes, I know, just like Necrol at the end of Megaforce. Yes, because honestly, it really bothers me so much that Bachira absorbs her at the end of the season. Just like it bothers me so much that she remains evil until the end. It would have been better if Banshira just absorbs her demon's essence and that it turns her into a human without any evil in her. Yes, for me, it's a real shame because she has a so beautiful face, so that's why I really wish she turns good and also into a human at the end of the season. With this, she even would have been another choice for Kato's love interest in addition of Jana for me. And yes, I'm once again asking you the same thing in comments, please. Power Rangers Time Force. So, there's not a lot of things I would have liked to see in this season, except once again, some couples. So, first of all, I'm taking this opportunity to learn you that, like a lot of Power Rangers fans, Wes and Jen are my favorite Power Rangers couple ever. Just like Jen's my favorite Pink Ranger too, also like a lot of Power Rangers fans. Yes, she's not only my queen for me, she's also the most beautiful Power Rangers female character and actress, and so Erin Cahill, ever for me. Yes, I know I think for her exactly the same thing I told you about Jasmine and Shell for the animated movies in my short about this. In other words, for me, Jen is the Power Rangers counterpart of Jasmine and Shell in the animated movies. Yes, for me she has the prettiest face of all the franchise. And regarding her couple with Wes, since I just told you it was my favorite Power Ranger couple ever, well, I can tell you that is precisely why it frustrates me so much that they didn't kiss in the end. Yes, this is one of the biggest defects of the PR franchise for me. Almost none of all of the couples in the franchise kiss. The only times we saw it was at least 2 times between Tommy and Kimberly. And that's maybe because it's a low budget series, but sorry, it's not a reason. I really don't see why you should avoid to see the couples kissing. That's totally stupid like reason. No, it absolutely doesn't have to avoid the series to show us the couples kissing. And if there are all the couples I would have liked to see in this season are Katy and Trip and also Lucas and Nadira. Even if I think, if I'm not wrong, that the latter two had stories together that meant they were in love in the season. Power Rangers Wild Force. So, first of all, I'd like to tell you that I wish there was more Wild Zords for the Rangers than there already are in the season. For example, you know that all of the Rangers have each one 3 Wild Zords? Yes, the main one and 2 additional. Except for Max, the Blue Ranger. Yes, he only has his main Wild Zord, the Shark, and 1 additional Wild Zord, the Giraffe. And do you know what other additional Wild Zord I've imagined for it? The Horse Zord. Yes, for me, that would have been a real good additional Wild Zord choice for him. And I also imagined the combinations and utility of this Wild Zord. That's to say, he would have served as a leg for the Megazords, for which he could have combined, and his main could have served as a blade to give slashing kicks to the enemies. I've also imagined 1 more additional Wild Zords for each Ranger. The Camel for Cole, the Hippo for Max, the Walrus for Danny, the Kangaroo for Taylor, the Peacock for Alyssa, and the Snake for Merrick. And also there I've imagined their combinations and utilities. For the Camel, he would have served as an arm, and he would also contract it just like when we contract our biceps to bring out his pair of humps that each have a hole above them. And with these holes, we could then fire big energy balls like if they were cannons and slash or volcanoes to the enemies. Then for the Hippo, well, I don't know if he would serve as an arm or a leg, but in any case, we could use his jaws and big teeth to give powerful bites to the enemies. It's the same for the Walrus. And for the Kangaroo, well, he would serve as a chest, and there he would give kicks to the enemies in front of the Megazords, with which is combined. For the Peacock, he would get above the hand of the Megazord, and with this, the Rangers could use his wheel not only as a fan to launch powerful gusts of wind to sweep the enemies away, but also to give them slashing strikes with the wheel's feathers. They even could shoot the wheel's feathers to pierce the enemies. And finally, for the Snake Zord, he would be attached to the Predator's wrist, not only so the latter uses it as a whip, but also to tie up the enemies. He could also sometimes use the snake teeth to inject venom into the enemies. I even imagined an Ultra Zord for this season. A gigantic whale Zord that would be the most powerful and biggest of all the Wild Zords. He could fire powerful blue laser beams from his hole, and he also could open his back so all of the Megazords of the season get in there and give him all of their powers so he can fire a giant and powerful energy blast, which is obviously a mix of his power and that of the Megazords who are inside him, from his open mouth to the enemies. And to finish with Wild Force, I'm once again gonna talk to you about couples. First, I really wish Cole and Alyssa getting coupled. Not only because they would have been great together, but also because it's Alyssa who learns to Cole the truth about his parents. And plus, that would have made a feline couple like they both have a feline power, and that would have been a great idea too. And to be honest with you, I also really wish Merrick and Princess Shayla getting coupled after the final battle. And yes, I wish exactly the same thing for Danny and Kendall. Alright, so we finished with the 7 era, and so that means we're obviously and logically gonna continue and start with the Disney era of the series. I'm taking this opportunity to show you the timeline of the entire Power Rangers franchise. And for those who didn't know, yes, Disney made a big part of the series, from the 11th to the 17th season precisely. And this era started from the 11th season, like I just told you, who's called Power Rangers Ninja Storm. So, with a theme addressed in this season, I find it very weird that a so basic weapon for the ninjas like the Shuriken isn't there when it's the case in the original Super Sentai season, Ninpu Sentai Hurricaneer. So yes, that means I wish the Rangers haven't used those weapons in the season. And my second problem with the season is about the Tori and Blake couple. So, they are a very pretty pure couple, but that's precisely what frustrates me that we didn't see them conclude their couple. Yes, maybe with a wedding, for example, or something else of the same kind, see what I mean? Power Rangers Dino Thunder. The first thing I wish about this season is about the Zords. Yes, the Dinozords, Megazords and Ultra Zord of this season are all very cool, but that's precisely why I wish there was one more dinosaur among them. That's to say, the Plesiosaur. Because yes, I really would have liked to see aquatic dinosaurs in the season. Yes, thank you, I know there's already one in Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge, but it would have been so much better and more interesting in Dino Thunder. Speaking of the Zords, Megazords and Ultra Zord, to be honest with you, I also wish to see the Brachiosaur fighting in the season. Not only bringing the Zords and getting them out of him, and not only serving as a slide for the Valkasaurus Megazord either. The next thing I wish in the season is about the Ninja Storm / Dino Thunder team up. So, I love this team up too, and it's also one of my favorites of all the franchise, but despite this, it's not perfect either. Because it would have been better if Ethan teams up with Tori and Kira with Dustin. Yes, sorry to tell you that, but the colors are more important than the genders. In other words, for example, just because Kira and Tori are the two girls of the two Power Rangers teams, doesn't mean they necessarily have to team up. It would have been more logic that they both team up with the Ranger of the same color. And plus, just think about it. With this, it would have created more diversity with the genders, and that would have been a very good idea. And finally, the last thing about this season is once again about couples. I would have liked to see Trent and Kira, and also Ethan and Cassidy getting in couple officially. Just like Anton Mercer and Elsa did in the end of the season, if that's what the PR producers wanted. What I hope. Power Rangers S.P.D. So, first of all, my first problem with this season is about some special Rangers. Specifically Sam, the Omega Ranger, and Kat, the Cat Ranger. For Sam, what I hate about him is that we never see him on Morph, except in the end of the season when he goes back in the future with Nova. And of course, also the inverse, that's to say, see him morph, and then we instead show him turn into a little flying light ball. Yes, for me, that's a very bad idea the producers had, and I hate it so much. Exactly like the problem I also have with Kat. That's to say that she morphs just one time in the season, and yes, I really don't see why the producers made sure that her morpher has a lifespan of only 1 hour. Because she really could have been part of the team with her Ranger powers, and she also could have had a Zord / Megazord of her own, and that's so frustrating it's not the case. She could have used her Ranger powers during the Dino Thunder / S.P.D team-ups, and also at the final battle, for example. By the way, speaking about the two Dino Thunder and S.P.D team-ups, we arrive at my second problem with the season. It's precisely during the second team-up. First, I understand why Doggy teams up with Tommy because they're the two mentors of the two teams, but no, it shouldn't have been like this. It would have been better and more logic that Tommy teams up with Bridge and Sid. And also that Sam teams up not only with Trent, but also with Dog and Cat if she was, like I just told you, a Ranger who can morph anytime she wants till the end of the season and who would have been part of the team. And secondly, what's also a problem for me is that strangely, unlike during the first team up, the Rangers didn't use their power-ups. That's to say, of course, the Super Dino mode for the Dino Thunder Rangers and the SWAT mode for the S.P.D Basic Rangers. And no, sorry, but the simple fact that the two Red Rangers of the two teams, Connor for Dino Thunder and Jack for S.P.D, use their battleizers doesn't change and doesn't compensate for anything at all. It's still problematic. My next problem with the season is that, strangely, the police flashing lights the Rangers have on the two sides of their helmets are both red, except those of Cat that are different from the rest of the team. Why isn't it just like with the police cars where the left flashing light is blue and the red one is red? It would have been better and more logic that it's the same thing with these Rangers helmets. And to finish with S.P.D, I'm asking you please once again for Z, do you think it would have been better that she gets in couple with Bridge or Sky? And for Sid, do you think it would have been better that she gets in couple with Jack or Sky? Power Rangers Mystic Force. We arrive at my favorite season. Yes, I'm talking seriously. And with this, the things I would have liked to see in it, so it's better than it already is, are first, About the two next Special Rangers who arrive after Daggeron in the season. That's to say, of course, the two Nix/Bowens, the Red Ranger, parents Udona, the White Ranger, and Limbo, the Wolf Warrior. For Udona, I really wish she had a personal Megazord instead of just growing up to the point she turns giant. Yes, that's a very bad idea for me. It could have been maybe an Eskimo Megazord or something like this, don't you think? And for Limbo, well, when he uses his powers for good at the end of the season, with this, I really wish he also uses Catastros and the Centaurus Wolf Megazord for good. That would have been awesome. Secondly, well, remember when Nick activates his powers for the first time when he believes in magic at the beginning of the season? Well, what's very weird, stupid, and a bad thing is that unlike his friends before him, there's just red magic energy appearing in front of and also around him, and not his elements unlike his friends before him once again. That's to say, obviously, the fire. And yes, I really don't see and understand why they didn't do the same for him too. Seeing fire appearing and emerging in front of and around him once again would have been incredible and awesome though. Third, what I really would have loved to see, and yes, it frustrates me so much that it hasn't been made, is an S.P.D/Mystic Force team up. Yes, I really would have liked to see the two teams of my two favorite Power Rangers seasons teaming up. And yes, just like I said for Dino Thunder, in the original Mystic Force of Super Sentai season, Maho Sentai Magi Ranger, during the Deca Ranger and Magi Ranger team up, yes, there hasn't been this team up in the original Super Sentai season. They did exactly the same mistake I already complained about in Dino Thunder. So I really hope that if there had been an S.P.D/Mystic Force team up, like I would have liked, well, that they don't repeat this mistake. And yes, in this potential team up, I would have liked to see Udona teaming up with Cat and Limbo with Doggy. And yes, in this potential team up, it really could have shown us a debate between the two Power Rangers teams about the technology and the magic, that would have then concluded by the two teams admitting that the two things are both useful. We're going to finish once again with potential couples for this season. That's to say that I would have loved to see Nick and Madison getting in couple, and the same for Chip and Vita. For Nick and Madison, what makes me want to see them in couple is not only because they would have been great together, but it's also because they had two discussions in the season where there has been emotion between them. And plus, their two elements would certainly not have gone well together, but their two creatures, yes. Yes, a Phoenix and Mermaid couple would have been awesome for me. And for Chip and Vita, they also would have been great together, but it's also because they had very in-depth communication in the two-parts episode, A Stranger Within. Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. The first thing I would have liked to see in this season is about the two parts 15th anniversary episode, Once a Ranger. That is, by the way, a so much better anniversary episode than the Walfors Forever Red episode for me. That's to say that I would have liked there was one Pink Ranger and also a Special Ranger among the Retro Rangers. I specifically thought about Jen from Time Force with what I told you about her a little while ago, and also Merrick from Wild Force. And in this season, I also would have loved to see Mac and Rose getting in couple like they would have been great together. Yes, at the end of the season, Rose could have decided to leave/stay with Mac and his father. And I'm pleased once again asking you the same thing, please. Do you think Ronnie would have been better with Dax or Will? Power Rangers Jungle Fury. So, for this season, I've imagined a lot of potential animal spirits. Some of them that, for me, didn't have to be in the season, but that I still would have been awesome to see them, and others that really should have been in the season. So let's start with the first category. The animal spirits that didn't have to be there, but I still would have been awesome to see for me are the zebra, the hippo, the giraffe, the peacock, the parrot, the toucan, the panda, the kangaroo, and the koala. Yes, I've imagined one more ranger for each one of these potential animal spirits. And to be more honest, it would be 3 trios. So let's start with the first trio, that's to say, the one with the zebra, giraffe, and hippo spirits. What I've imagined for the zebra ranger is that he might have been Casey's brother with this animal spirit, since the zebra is a striped animal exactly like the tiger. And his weapon would be a white and black striped axe, where the blade would represent the zebra's mane. And every time he gives strikes with his axe, the weapon releases black and white striped energy behind it. For the giraffe ranger, she might have been Lily's sister with this animal spirit, since the giraffe's a yellow spotted animal like the cheetah. And her weapon would have been a lance to represent the long leg of the giraffe, and yes, the point would have represented the head of the giraffe. I also thought it would be a good idea if she has a relationship with Casey. Yes, a tiger and giraffe couple would be a very good idea for me. And finally, for the hippo ranger, he might have been Theo's brother Lewin that we already saw in one episode in the season, who would return to discover his animal spirit, who would be of course the hippo, and so to become a ranger in his turn. And his weapon would be a hippo hydro blaster shaped like a hippo's jaw that would fire hydro energy blasts, and that he also could use to bite the enemies. And this Rangers trio would have their own Megazord with their animal spirits, and yes, it's the same for the two next Rangers trios. Let's pass to the next Rangers trio that I called the Three Feathers Masters. First of all, they all could fly thanks to wings they would have at their underarms, and they also could throw the feathers to the enemies to pierce them. Yes, I know. Just like Taylor from Wild Force and a little Kira from Dino Thunder. The one with the Peacock Spirit would have like weapon a fan in the shape of a peacock's wheel. Yes, I know, a little like the jungle fans. To give slashing strikes with it to the enemies and also to shoot them with the wheel's feathers to pierce them. He could also make appear a long handle under the fan to hold it like this. For the Power Ranger, he might have a megaphone shaped like a parrot's head to launch red, yellow, blue and green shockwaves to the enemies when he speaks into it. Yes, I know, a little like the tourist Sonic fin in Ninja Storm. And finally, for the Toucan Ranger, he might have a sickle whose blade would look like a toucan's beak. And now let's finish with the last Rangers trio I've imagined. For the Panda Ranger, well, first, I can tell that he would make think very much to Po from Kung Fu Panda, and his weapon would be a long bamboo-shaped stick. For the Kangaroo Ranger, he might have two boxing gloves, obviously to punch the enemies, and he also could recharge these boxing gloves with an energy to give more damage to the enemies. And he also could recharge his legs with the same energy. Yes, because of course, a kangaroo's legs are very powerful, so with this Kangaroo Ranger might recharge his legs with this energy not only to give powerful kicks to the enemies, but also to jump very high and far like a real kangaroo. And finally, for the Koala Ranger, well, he could just launch fake slashing eucalyptus leaves. So yes, I know all of that would have made so much more Rangers than there already are in the season. And yes, again, I know we don't need it, but it still would have been great if they'd been created. And before anyone tells me, yes, I know that some of those ideas I had for these potential Rangers look so much like some that were, and also some of those I talked to you about for a while, for Wild Force. Alright, so now let's pass to the second category, the animal spirits that really should have been in the season. The animal spirits that really should have been in the season are the hyena, the piranha, the vulture, and the carnivorous/venomous plant. And yes, I know these animal spirits would have been for the villains. And yes, again, it frustrates me so much because monsters with those animal spirits in the season had a lot of potential. For the hyena spirits monster, well, first I'd just like to say that visibly someone else had the same idea than me, and I also can tell you that she would make think a little to the Batman's Joker, and yes, also to his two hyenas pets, to him and Harley Quinn. First, because her personality would be that she would always be giggling, crazy, and making evil humor, and her powers would have been launch waves with her mouth, by laughing, either to cast a spell to make people laugh non-stop, yes, I know, a little like the Joker's laughing gas, or to give them a headache when they hear them. And she also would have claws to give slashing hits to her enemies. And the destruction plan she could have had in her episode would have been that she cast her laughing spell with her power to a lot of Ocean Bluffs people, and because of that, they end up with a crazy face with a big horrible smile, and of course, they laugh non-stop, and in reality, this laugh drains them of their vital energy. And of course again, the Rangers fight the monster, and when they destroy her, the spell is of course broken just in time, just before it kills her victims. For the Piranha monster, I couldn't imagine his power and a destruction plan for him. For the Vulture monster, I just could imagine some powers for him, that's to say obviously flying and slashing feathers, but not a destruction plan. But for the carnivorous/venomous plant monster, I could imagine all of this for him. For his powers, he would have a carnivorous plant head instead of the hand, and instead of the other hand, he would have a poisonous plant that could shoot poisonous thorns and also spray venomous spores. He could also get vines out of him to tie up and also to whip his enemies, and he also could launch slashing tropical leaves. And finally, for his destruction plan, it would be something very classic, like just poisoning civilians of Ocean Bluff, and that the spell is broken when the Rangers destroy him too. Okay, so those were all the potential animal spirits I've imagined for the season, and now let's pass to the two next things I wish were in it. First, I wish Casey, the season's Red Ranger, had a battleizer, and yes, I've imagined one for him. That's to say a battleizer that would have been just like the Mystic Force Red Dragon Fire Ranger battleizer, but this time with an Asian dragon. Yes, you heard me well. It would be an Asian dragon merging with Casey. That would make think a little to post Dragon Warrior title in Kung Fu Panda. And the final thing I wish there was in the season is that the Spirit Rangers trio could morph. Because yes, for me, it's a very bad thing that it's not the case. And with everything I told you about the 16th PR season, don't you think I'm right when I say that first, it's an Asian and tropical version of Mystic Force? And secondly, that it has similarities to Kung Fu Panda? Power Rangers RPM. Alright, so the only thing I would have liked to see in this season are couples. So at first I'd like to tell you that I love those who are already there, but there are still others that I would have loved to see too. First it is Scott and Tenaya. It's even the potential couple I really would have loved to see the most in the season. Not only because they would have been great together, but also because it could have given interesting things. For example, at the beginning of the season when the Rangers meet Tenaya for the first time, when she pretended to be a normal human, well, at this moment, Scott could have fallen in love with her at first sight. And when they discovered that she's Dylan's sister, first, well, it could have created a tension between Dylan and Scott. Because yes, obviously, Dylan, the other Rangers, the Dr. K, and the Colonel Truman would have learned that Scott's in love with Tenaya, and so Dylan would have made the protective big brother against Scott. And secondly, well, obviously Scott would have been worried for Tenaya too, so he would have absolutely tried to turn her human again just like Dylan, but obviously not totally for the same reasons. And yes, I know we could have saw that for Zane with Karun too in Space. Just like I know most of all I'm telling you and also gonna tell you about this potential couple looks very like what I told you about what I wish for Zane and Karun in Space. And yes, that means that in the end of the season, when Tenaya becomes human and normal again, well, there she would have got in couple with Scott. And the other potential couple I wish there was in the season is Flynn and Gemma, because they just would have been great together. Alright, so now we finished with the Disney era of the franchise, and now let's pass to the Neo 7 era. From the moment most of the fans of the franchise started saying that the series was better before and that today it's bullshit. I not completely, but a little agree with them. Because from the start of this new era, it sure was 7 again that continued to create the series, but with a company it competed to create it. Nickelodeon. Yes, sorry to tell you that, but Nickelodeon is good to create things like SpongeBob SquarePants, for example, but certainly not Power Rangers. And so that means we're obviously gonna start with its 4 first seasons, Samurai and Super Samurai, and Megaforce and Super Megaforce. First of all, what you have to know is that for me, these 4 first seasons of this third Power Rangers era are imperfect adaptations of their original Super Sentai seasons counterparts. That's to say Samurai Sentai Shinkenger for Power Rangers Samurai and Super Samurai, Tensu Sentai Goseijo for Power Rangers Megaforce, and Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger for Power Rangers Super Megaforce. And yes, for those who already saw my short where I warned you about the story I've imagined since the series is part of my life since 2016, and that I'll tell you someday, that's to say the Power Rangers Legacy series once again, well, you already know one of the problems I have with these 4 seasons that makes me think they're not perfect adaptations of their original supports. That's to say creating a super part to create 2 seasons. Yes, for me they never should have done that. It was better when it was all in just 1 season. And yes, I obviously and logically have the same problems with the next seasons. And yes, again, I'm gonna tell you right away how they could have been better Power Rangers / American adaptations. First of all, I'd like to tell you that for me, their Super Sentai seasons counterparts really should have been adapted during the Disney era. Because like this, it wouldn't just have made 10 seasons for this era just like the first 7 era, it also would have made very better Power Rangers / American adaptations. And if you remember how I called these Power Rangers seasons instead in my story, in my short where I warned you about it once again, well, in that case, you can guess I think, that for me, they should have been called like this instead in real life too. And I'm gonna tell you how their Super Sentai seasons counterparts could have looked like if they were adapted during the Disney era. For Samurai Sentai Shinkenger, and so for its American / Power Rangers adaptation, Power Rangers Samurai and Super Samurai, well, if Shinkenger was adapted during the Disney era, once again, it should have been called Power Rangers Samurai like it already is in real life. Or maybe Samurai Slash or Samurai Strike. Once again, it's very hard to choose for me. But what's also a problem for me is that, look, first, what I still didn't tell you is that not only Power Rangers Samurai and Super Samurai are bad seasons for me like most pure fans think, but it's also really frustrating because for me, the Samurais themed by Power Rangers had a lot of potential. And remember when I made a comparison with Disney's Dinosaur in my video about the underrated and overrated animated movies for me? Well, if I made this comparison, it's because just like I told you that actually Disney's Dinosaur had a good story and represents very well the dinosaurs world, but that it's still a man movie because it's not an animated movie like the others, well, it's a little the same for Power Rangers Samurai and Super Samurai. What makes me say that is that these 2 PR seasons also had actually a good story, good ideas, and represent the Samurai's world at the Power Rangers way very well, but like they've been created by an incompetent company to create them, well, in the end, they've been bad seasons because they're very bad made and unbearable. And by the way, I don't like the Clash of the Red Rangers movie either. That's why I say that normally Shinkenger would have been much better adapted during the Disney era. Yes, look, for example, he could have had a particularly mature tone with the samurai slashing with his saber side, see what I mean? And plus, we really could have had a much better crossover with RPM, and so a potential real good team up between the 2 teams. Do you realize that with this, we could have destroyed Vengeance for real and definitely, and also in a so much better way than we did in Beast Morphers? Afterwards, even if Samurai slash Super Samurai are bad seasons for me, there are still two potential couples I really wish so much were in them. That's to say Jaden with Mia and Antonio with Lauren. Yes, for me, in both cases, the members of each of these two potential couples would have been great together. By the way, speaking of Lauren, see the episodes in Super Samurai when she replaces her brother Jaden for a short time? Well, just like the franchise took this opportunity to show us a female Red Ranger, and like usual with this, I really want to see the same thing with a Pink Ranger at least once. Yes, you heard me well, I really want to see at least one time the franchise taking an opportunity to show us a Pink Ranger being replaced by a boy, and so in order to see a male Pink Ranger like usual. For Tensu Sentai Go Sager, and so for Power Rangers Megaforce, well, there, once again, it should have been called Power Rangers Celestial Angels or Angels Protectors. Once again, it's also very hard to choose for me. And for Kaizoku Sentai Go Kaiger, and so for Power Rangers Super Megaforce, well, there, once again, it should have been called Power Rangers Pirates Crew. And as you probably noticed, like me, since the franchise is part of my life since 2016, unlike we did in Samurai slash Super Samurai with Shinkenger, there, Megaforce and Super Megaforce aren't based in one Super Sentai season, but in two. And that's also a problem because of that, a real big part of their original Super Sentai seasons wasn't adapted in Power Rangers. Yes, look, for example, I really would have loved to see how this villain would have been adapted in Power Rangers. It certainly would have been awesome. But the problem is also that because of the bad adaptation by Nickelodeon I told you about a little earlier, the themes of these two Super Sentai seasons aren't represented in their Power Rangers adaptations. At least not really. And that's also very frustrating because the Angels, Earth Protectors, and Pirates themes by Power Rangers also had a lot of potential. That's also why I say it certainly would have been much better if Goseiger and Gokaiger were adapted during the Disney era. Yes, look, for example, Pirates Crew could have been at the same time a potential so epic, grandiose, and powerful 20th season and also conclusion to the Disney era. It even would have had some resemblance to Operation Overdrive, with a pirate that travels the Earth to seek and find treasure side, see what I mean? It even would have been my favorite Power Rangers season with Mystic Force. And yes, as you probably understood by yourself, it also means that for me, it was useless to adapt these two Super Sentai seasons in the same peer universe. That's to say, in the same city, with the same characters, and so with the same team, in the same base, see what I mean? Yes, for me, and also for majority of peer fans, I think, it would have been better if it was two individuals and completely different seasons like their original Super Sentai counterparts. However, the way it's been ultimately adapted was still a creative and imaginative idea. Yes, I'm really talking seriously. The idea of taking these two extremely mighty powers, that's to say once again Angels Protectors of Earth and Pirates using all of their predecessors' powers and therefore obviously the powers of all the previous Power Rangers who appeared before them, even if those extremely mighty powers are far from being represented in the same way in their Power Rangers adaptations once again, to create two seasons with the Megaforce word in the title for the first one, and then the Super Megaforce word in the title for the second one, when the heroes are more powerful, it still is a very creative and imaginative idea. And I'm even going further. I don't hate Power Rangers Megaforce and Super Megaforce like majority of peer fans. I see why they hate these seasons so much, but honestly, I'm one of those few people who don't hate these seasons but who don't love them either, but who like them. Just like Watch Mojo's people, for example. Because just like the latter, I can see these two seasons with a positive eye, and with this, unlike majority of peer fans, I don't see these seasons as extremely stupid, ridiculous, childish, and also cliched and not original at all in terms of dialogues, etc. No, they're quite well researched, logic, coherent, and imagined given their context and themes that are far from being exactly the same than in Goseiger and Gokaiger once again, of course. And yes, I know well that if there are all the few people, and therefore including Watch Mojo's people once again, who like these seasons, it's exactly for the same reasons I just told you. And without wanting to criticize, it's even obvious that if majority of pure fans see these seasons negatively, it's due to a lack of perspective. And yes, sorry to tell you that, but that means that if most of them see these seasons with a positive eye, and so that they like them, like me and the rest of the minority of pure fans, about these two seasons, they would open their minds. And sorry to tell you that, but yes, that also means that Megaforce and Super Megaforce are the best Neo Saban era seasons, and certainly not Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge unlike majority of pure fans say. Because yes, for me, Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge are bad seasons for me, and you'll see why when I'll talk to you about these seasons. And yes, still without wanting to criticize once again, and also without wanting to look arrogant, that also means that if most of them see things like me about Dino Charge slash Dino Supercharge compared to Megaforce slash Super Megaforce, they would open their minds as well. In other words, remember when I told you I not completely but a little agree with PR fans when they say the franchise started to be bad from this third era? Well, that means that yes, all the Neo Zealand era's Power Rangers seasons are bad, except Megaforce and Super Megaforce for me. But yes, don't worry, I stand by what I said. These two PR seasons would have still been so much better if their original Super Sentai seasons were adapted during the Disney era. But despite this, there are still 3 things I really wish were in Megaforce and Super Megaforce. That's to say, first, remember the problem I have with some PR canons I told you about when I was talking to you about Mighty Morphin and Zeo? Well, I also have this problem in Super Megaforce, with obviously the Super Mega canon. What frustrates me is that I really wish we had one more hole in this canon, so Orion, the Silver Super Mega Ranger, can insert its Super Mega key in it to add more power and so more firepower too in the canon. Secondly, I also really wish Troy the Red Ranger had a battleizer with all of the Red Ranger's faces on it, just like the Special Ranger's faces on Orion's golden armor. And on this battleizer, he also would have a large and big pirate captain hat, a wider pirate coat, his Super Mega Saber would get longer to the point of reaching a lens length, and his Super Mega Blaster would turn into a little pirate boat cannon, which would be placed above his wrist to shoot little cannonballs. And yes, it obviously means that with this, his weapons would inflict more damage to the enemies. So, these 2 first potential things I wish were in Super Megaforce. I obviously also would have liked to see them in Pirate's Crew if it had been created during the Disney era, like I already told you several times in this video. And the third and final thing I wish there was in Megaforce/Super Megaforce is that Troy and Emma getting coupled. Yes, it also frustrates me so much that there hasn't been that in the season, because they also would have been so great together. So for the 4 next seasons and even/also the final seasons of the Neo 7 era, Power Rangers Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge, and Power Rangers Ninja Steel and Super Ninja Steel, well, I'm gonna start with the big problems all 4 of them have in common. That's to say, in addition of being bad seasons, and even then Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge are still better than Ninja Steel / Super Ninja Steel, they recycle 2 themes already covered by 2 previous seasons in the series. That's to say, obviously, Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge for Dino Thunder, and Ninja Steel and Super Ninja Steel for Ninja Storm. And as if this wasn't a bad enough idea, they don't even represent these themes as well as the predecessors. Yes, sorry to tell you that, but it wasn't worth adapting these Super Sentai seasons if it was only to lack of imagination and of creativity, and so with this recycling 2 themes already covered, and also very well represented in the franchise, especially if it's to represent them less well. Look, like I told you at the beginning of my video, I've imagined a lot of potential Power Rangers seasons, so without wanting to be arrogant, that proves that it wasn't hard for other PR producers to create new PR seasons with completely original themes never covered in the franchise. This applies partly also to Super Sentai. Yes, there too it was also a bad idea to recycle themes already covered instead of creating newer seasons with original themes. Even if this time, I don't know if there too the originals were better than the remakes, if we can call these recycling seasons like this. Like I never really saw Super Sentai. Besides, with everything I'm telling you, it makes me realize that it's exactly like with the animated movies remakes. Yes, it's exactly the same. We recycle something that people love and in the end, it gives something less good. Even if once again, I don't know if it's also the case for Super Sentai. But do you know what's the worst in it? Is that as if these 4 final seasons of this third PR era didn't plagiarize Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm enough like this by recycling their themes once again, they do it even more by not assuming it. Yes, I'm not kidding. During the 4 whole seasons, the 2 Rangers teams don't learn and admit 1 second that they're not the first Dinosaurs and Ninja's Power Rangers teams at all. And yes, it's also a real big problem because, sorry to tell you that, but we just don't plagiarize something like this, especially if we don't assume it, and also if once again, we represent this something's theme less well. Yes, because I don't know if you understood, but Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder represented very well the Ninjas and Dinosaurs themes, and their remakes, not at all. They just created random stories like this without being able to do as well as, and therefore, I'll never say it enough, also without representing these themes correctly as their predecessors. And to finish with these 4 final seasons of this third PR era, I'd like to tell you one same thing I told you for Samurai / Super Samurai. That's to say, even if Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge and Ninja Steel / Super Ninja Steel are bad seasons for me, there are still some potential couples I really wish were in them. For Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge, I know that Tyler and Shelby are already in couple, but just like I told you for Tori and Blake and Ninja Storm, I also would have liked to see them conclude their couple. And there, once again, I'm gonna ask you the same thing. Can you please tell me in comments if you think that it would have been better if Kendall gets in couple with Prince Philip III or with Heckle? And for Ninja Steel / Super Ninja Steel, well, first of all, like I already told you when I was talking to you about Turbo, they're the worst PR seasons ever for me with the latter. And here's my reaction when I finished to watch these 3 best seasons in their entirety for the first time.
C'était une torture! Sans déconner, j'ai vraiment dû prendre un Doliprane après l'épisode tellement j'avais mal à la tête. J'ai mal jusque dans les cheveux, putain!
But despite this, I still really wish Brody and Sarah getting coupled, because they also would have been so great together. And now we're finally arriving at the last PR era, at the Hasbro era precisely, and with this, we're obviously gonna start with these 2 first seasons, Beast Morphers. Okay, so first what you have to know is that these 2 seasons are based on the 36th Super Sentai season, Tokume Sentai Go Busters, released before the Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge and Ninja Steel / Super Ninja Steel Super Sentai seasons counterparts in 2012. Yes, you heard me well. And yes, I really don't see why the PR producers did it differently in the American adaptation. Yes, for me, that was a bad idea. And to give you my opinion about these 2 seasons, well, I'm not so fan of Beast Morphers. They're not bad seasons, but they're not good for me either. Yes, I think they're not very good. And plus, they still have this same problem than the Neo 7 era seasons. That's to say the 2 parts problem I told you about. Even if this time, there's not the super word in the 2nd season. But the worst in it is that it frustrates me so much. Yes, the Spice Team by Power Rangers had a lot of potential too. So yes, that also means Hasbro isn't good to create Power Rangers either. That's why for me, in order to create good Power Rangers seasons, it has to be competent companies to create them like Saban and Disney in the 2 first eras. Power Rangers Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury. Well, with everything I told you for Dino Charge / Dino Supercharge, I think that what I think about these last seasons of this last PR era will be obvious for you. Yes, the PR producers dared to recycle and so to represent the dinosaurs theme less well once again. As if once wasn't bad enough like this. And yes, this applies to the Super Sentai counterpart Kishiryu Sentai Ryu Soldier too, even if once again, there too I don't know if Ryu Soldier is better or not than Abba Ranger and Kyoryuger, but quite honestly, I don't have the impression, like I once again never really saw Super Sentai. And for Cosmic Fury, well, there it's even worse because, a little like Mighty Morphin Season 2 and 3, they kept the Ryu Soldier and so the Dino Fury Rangers costumes, even if they changed them a little and that they also invented 2 other Orange and Zenith Rangers that has never been in Ryu Soldier. And about these Orange and Zenith Rangers, yes, I know why we've invented them. It's because Cosmic Fury is also based on the 41st Super Sentai season, Uchu Sentai Q Ranger. And with this, they wanted to take 2 colors of the Super Sentai season to introduce them in Power Rangers. And yes, I know that with this, the franchise gave us an official real Orange Ranger unlike in Boom's Dream in S.P.D. By the way, speaking of Q Ranger, this is the other problem Cosmic Fury has in common with Mighty Morphin Seasons 2 and 3. It's based partly on Q Ranger, and despite this, the only things kept from it are the Zords, Megazords, and maybe also the Ultra Zords and Morphers. And yes, there it's also frustrating because the constellations and astrological signs by Power Rangers also had a lot of potential. That's why I wish there was a pure season based on Q Ranger's totality. Alright, so that was all the potential ideas and things I wish were in Power Rangers. I really find it's a shame that they weren't made because, once again, like this, my most basic passion could have been better than it already is, but thanks to the artificial intelligence, we could add all these potential ideas and things in the series. Anyway, as always, I hope you passed a good moment in front of my video, and of course don't hesitate to tell me in comments if you like these potential ideas I had for the series, and don't also hesitate to tell me in comments if you wish they were in it just like me. Alright, take good care of yourself, have a good day or evening, and see you in my next video.